Hey, what's good, fam? How's it going? Good morning. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Question of the day is, does Alabama need a transfer in quarterback? Tyler Buchner in Tuscaloosa last night, and I know everybody's really excited about it. Call in, give me your thoughts, 205-850-1994. Feels good to be back talking Alabama football with you. I appreciate you guys. We had a great spring football season, and now we kind of gravitate towards the end of the month of April, where the transfer window closes on April 30th, and Tyler Buchner, a guy who's getting a lot of headlines. Look, I don't think that he is the right quarterback to come in, but clearly he has some connection because of Tommy Rees. Remember, Tommy Rees was at Notre Dame last year, so it's not like he just randomly picked to come to Alabama. So I want to get your take on the quarterback situation, 205-850-1994. Look, this is the thing that I love about being independent. And by the way, I own the YouTube channel outright, so it feels good because I can say what I want to say. And look, I wasn't impressed with the quarterbacks, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. I think, some of these other sites are going to be more fansy and be like, yeah, the quarterback's going to be okay. Yeah, the quarterbacks are going to be okay. Of course, it's Alabama. Alabama's going to be fine. But if you watch Saturday's practice or the scrimmage, were you really impressed with what you saw? I wasn't. And that's not a knock on Milroe or Ty Simpson. It's just like, it's early. There's a huge drop off from last year to this year. Clearly, think about this. Thursday night, the NFL draft, who is the first pick going to be? It's going to be Bryce Young, right? So that's the big drop off. And I think Ty and Jalen, of course, are going to get the job done. In my continuation of the grades, Alabama has the best secondary in the entire country. Terran Arnold, Kool-Aid, Malachi Moore, Caleb Downs, those guys are going to have an elite secondary. So Jalen Milroe, who has one game of experience, Ty Simpson, who has no games of experience, going against the best in college football, of course they're going to struggle. They didn't look good. There was underthrown balls. They were overthrown balls. Jalen Milroe was 0 for 3 to start the game. I mean, the guys just aren't ready yet, but it's April, right? We still have a long way to go into the college football season. And then with Tyler Buchner, him coming in and visiting or whatever. Look, from what I gather, he's not the guy. I don't think, Alabama necessarily needs Tyler Buchner, but do they need a transfer in quarterback? Probably so. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. And if it does, Nick Saban is going to figure out the quarterback position and going to have this team right come that first game of the season. I don't think there's anything with looking in the transfer portal. There's only 4 days left. I think if Tyler Buchner comes into the program and if he links up with Alabama, I think he's going to be the fourth best quarterback on the roster. I think it'll be Milroe or Ty Simpson, and then probably even it would be a battle between Lonergan and Tyler Buchner, for example. And I don't think Lonergan, considering he looked pretty good as a freshman, I don't think he's ready to necessarily be the quarterback at Alabama. Maybe he would do okay if he got his name called, but he's not necessarily ready to lead this team to where it needs to go. I like the overall feel of this team. The running back room is going to be phenomenal. Jace McClellan, we didn't even need to see him this spring season. He played 13 games last season, did enough. Roydell Williams back from injury. That's incredible. That's really exciting. He's a bowling ball inside the red zone. Call line is open, 205-850-1994. It's just kind of feeling like on a tangent this morning. It's just like I'm tired of just being like, everything is great with the quarterback room. No, it's not. I mean, the quarterback room needs to continue to develop, and that's okay. And it's okay to say that. We don't need to pretend that everything was fine during that scrimmage. I mean, listen, it's just like you can't. I mean, it's a practice, right? And there's such a long time until these guys actually play an actual game. So I wanted to come on and just get your feedback on that, because it's just like, you think these guys are just going to take off until August, until they get back? No, they're practicing every single day. That's what they do. So by the time they get going, they're going to be much more in a better phase in terms of working with the receivers and have a better continuity. I still feel the quarterbacks can get the job done. Is there a huge drop off from the past couple of years to this year at the quarterback position? Absolutely. But these guys need to go out and prove it to them, to everybody, that they can lead this team, including us who are watching from the outside. We got our first caller and we'll take it right now. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
It's Juwan from Arkansas. How you doing, Kyle?
Hey, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in this morning. Thank you so much, man. So Tyler Buchner, that's kind of the news circulating. Everyone's freaking out. Look, from what I understand, he's just visiting. But, I mean, the topic is, does Alabama need a transfer quarterback? So, Juwan, I appreciate you calling and leading off the show, man. Give me what you got.
I do not think Alabama needs a transfer quarterback, man. Mm-hmm. Take a look at the quarterback room. Now, the reason why Tyler Buchner is getting out of Notre Dame is because Sam Hartman came in there and ran him out.
Yep.
On top of that, they have Kenny Minchie back there. They got C.J. Carr coming in. Mm-hmm. So you got to look at that, man. He's in the quarterback room where he does not belong. He had his chance last year at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. They don't play the same kind of opponents as Alabama at all. So hopefully he's not transferring to Alabama, because I don't think he would handle SEC defensive ends and linebackers as well as he did going up against a North Carolina or maybe a Marshall, who he lost to in his start. To me, when I watched the 8A game, Dylan Lonergan looked nice. Mm-hmm. And I understand he's going against the threes or whatever, but those threes are still 5-stars on that roster. Mm-hmm. So he was probably going up against Desmond Ricks and guys like that who just came into the program who are really talented guys. So I'm against Alabama going to the transfer portal. If you don't think that Jalen Milroe is able to get it done, or Ty Simpson, let's go. Let's give somebody else a chance. Because Lonergan had a lot of poise in the pocket. He delivered some strikes. I was impressed with him. I like that pass where he hit Justice Haynes. And to me, Justice Haynes, everybody was talking about who's going to be the breakout player this year. Justice Haynes is on a mission, man. Yeah. He's catching the football. He's running it tough. In my opinion, he could be a running back or a receiver, the way the guys out there playing. Because those receivers, the guys, I forgot who it was, is another Alabama blog site. They were talking about what receivers were going to step up this season. Mm-hmm. And I told them I had a feeling that it was going to be none of them. Mm-hmm. And you look at that 8A game, they dropped 8 passes, man. Mm-hmm. You can't put that on the quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. The number one thing when you're a wide receiver is to catch the football. It's not about burning a guy deep. It's not about making a highlight catch. Mm-hmm. It's about putting 2 hands on the football and reeling it in. Mm-hmm. That's all you got to do as a receiver. Nobody's asking you to make a big play. They can't even do that, man. That's scary right there. If you're a quarterback, if you make a good throw, that should be reeled in. That hurts your confidence. That probably hurt Ty Simpson's confidence, Jalen Milroe, because every throw wasn't bad from those guys. It wasn't. So we got to look at if we're going to look at the negatives, we got to look at it from both sides. Who knows if they had better receivers, what could have happened? And I go back to national championship against Georgia 2 years ago. Every receiver was out. Nobody listened to Coach Saban after the game when he said not one receiver could step up. Mm-hmm. Ja'Cory Brooks, he was burning guys out there on that Georgia secondary. Drop. Other guys, burning guys. Drop. Bryce Young was putting it on the money. So that's one thing that really bothers me. That defense is looking good. You got Earl Little out there looking good. Caleb Downs looking good. What's my guy at the safety? Malachi Moore is out there looking like he's turning it up a whole nother level. So offense has to do something. And I don't think the answer is in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. What's the point of having Eli Holstein? Let's coach him up some more. 6'4", 225. Mm-hmm. That kid didn't lose a single game in high school with Zachary, Louisiana. You're talking about a kid that went 30-0. Mm-hmm. So let's see what y'all can do coaching some of these other guys up. Don't just run to the portal because you feel like you need to. You got plenty of talent. And I hear that Ty Simpson sustained a dislocated thumb, was it?
Yeah, it was a UCL. That's what Tony Tsoukalos, our man, reported. And I think, look, whatever the case is, and we're on with Juwan from Arkansas. Call line is up at the top of the screen, 205-850-1994. We're talking about the quarterback situation following Alabama's spring game. Call in, give me your take. I want to get your voice on Tyler Buchner. Look, I don't think Tyler Buchner is the answer to come in and solve anybody's issues. And I'm kind of with you, Juwan, in terms of you have these players, let's develop them. And it's not like Alabama has a game this coming Saturday. And if Alabama did have a game coming this Saturday, I'll promise you this, Jalen Milroe is the starting quarterback of that team. Now, does he retain that starting position? That's up to Coach Saban, and I think that Ty Simpson is very tight behind him, and I like a lot of the things that Ty Simpson brings to the table. We found out that he's also fast north and south, not just east and west, because we knew that he has that escapability, but when he ripped off that 45-yard rush and then he put Earl Little on skates, he did some good things. So I think with these quarterbacks, you have a lot of time to continue to have them progress under new offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees. And let's not forget this secondary that these guys went against, like Juwan was just saying, the best in the country, right? You have Kool-Aid, Terrion Arnold, Malachi Moore, Caleb Downs, Earl Little, Jake Pope, Christian Story. Those guys in the 2 deep were even playing phenomenal. So does Alabama need a transfer quarterback? Probably not. Are they going to entertain, I guess, Tyler Buchner if he comes in? Of course. He's friends probably with Tommy Rees, who was the OC last year at Notre Dame. What else you got, Juwan, before we move to our next caller?
This is my last thing. Those tight ends are looking like they're going to be the go-to guys, Danny Lewis and that other guy. But I just think you start Jalen Milroe, because if you look on that one drive where he took it to the house on that run, they were out there playing touch, and nobody could get a hand on that guy. So you got to think about that, man. In a lot of those situations, they were calling them down because of the touch. So you put that in a game situation against LSU, and somebody tries to touch him, and he takes off with that 6'4", 220 frame, running that 4.3. He went I don't know if people noticed, he went untouched straight up the middle for that touchdown. So that's what Jalen Milroe's bringing to the table. Hey, I appreciate it, Kyle, man.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man. I appreciate you calling in. Juwan, our good buddy from Arkansas, playing leadoff hitter. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube, 205-850-1994. There's nothing wrong with saying that you weren't happy with the quarterback play this last Saturday during A-Day. Like, that doesn't mean that you're not an Alabama fan or you don't care about the team or whatever. It wasn't what we're accustomed to seeing. There's a long time before the college football season. Call in, give me your take, 205-850-1994. Is Tyler Buchner the answer? I don't think so. From what I gather, he's visiting Alabama. Is there interest there? Probably a little bit, but I don't think he's going to come in and beat out Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson. If he was to decide to even come to Alabama, I think there's other places that he could go to where he would be a better fit for. But I don't think necessarily Alabama is the question. Hit the super chat, become a member of this channel, hit the join button at the bottom, like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys. Jeff is asking who's tight end number 1. I'm glad you asked that because I want to talk about the tight ends. Actually, as I continue to talk about the positional groups for Alabama, I was going to talk about the tight ends today, but I'll just go ahead and cut the video and then I'll just repost the video talking about the tight ends. Let's look at the tight end room real quick. And here are the grades that I compiled after watching the spring game, and you can give me some feedback on that. Remember, Alabama is currently replacing Cam Latu at that tight end position. So when we look to Alabama's tight end room, and you can call in 205-850-1994, we'll continue to move through some other topics right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I look at the tight end room. We didn't get a lot of a ton of looks at CJ Dupree, the transfer in from Maryland. But what I saw from him, I did like. I mean, let's just give him a B. It was okay. It wasn't anything out of this world. Same thing with Miles Ketzelman. Came in. I was looking through Miles Ketzelman. So I'm up in the media room and I'm using my binoculars. And one of the binoculars, of course, doesn't work. So I'm looking through it like a telescope. And Miles Ketzelman, he made some good catches. Didn't seem like a burner. I don't think they need him to be a burner. He's just kind of a serviceable tight end. Danny Lewis was actually the tight end that got to rep with the first team unit, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I think he could be somebody who potentially, I guess maybe grabs that spot behind CJ Dupree or whatever, or gets some playing time. A lot of these other tight ends you didn't get to see. I mean, as you can see, there's a ton of tight ends in that room. Let's talk about Amari Niblack, because I've talked about Niblack before. Currently, I think he's 6'3", 230, and it wears it well because when you look to him, he looks pretty skinny. I would like to see Amari Niblack become the guy in that tight end room, or at least become that tight end that we've seen in college football that can create some mismatches. Now, Amari Niblack did have a couple catches. I think he had 3 catches in A-Day. One where he extended his body and really showed his athleticism. So I think Amari Niblack, being that guy who can create some mismatches at that tight end position, could be your guy that could potentially be that tight end that we're looking for in college football. But I think CJ Dupree will probably be one, Danny Lewis and Amari Niblack. And then, of course, I don't see him listed here, which is interesting. Maybe they have him with the fullbacks. But Robbie Oots is also a tight end that is going to get some playing time, certainly within the red zone. They consider it like an H-back position, kind of like a tight end fullback. So then let me know your thoughts on the tight end room. We didn't get to see a ton of them. I mean, I don't think they scored a touchdown, but, replacing Cam Latu, certainly something to track. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Does Alabama need Tyler Buchner or a transfer in quarterback? That's what we're talking about today, 205-850-1994. I don't necessarily think they do. I think it was Big Sam right here. It looks like he's a Georgia Bulldog fan inside our comment box. What's up, Big George or Big Sam? He said, develop the players you had or have on the roster. And I think that's a good point. And I think that's what Alabama is going to continue to do. I mean, if they do take in or they do entertain Tyler Buchner, big deal. I think you do focus on the two quarterbacks that you have. And one thing that we did learn about the quarterbacks is that the race is very tight for the starting spot. And I think honestly that Jalen Milroe is probably going to be the starter for that first game of the season. And whether he retains that is going to be up to him and his production on the field. I mean, they let him throw it a ton of times during the spring game, right? 37 times. And just like Todd is pointing out, in case you guys missed it on our YouTube channel, we posted a quick update on the fact that Ty Simpson did have a thumb injury early in that spring game. It was a UCL, which is basically affects the ligament of the thumb, which is on his throwing hand. And then people, as soon as we posted that, or as soon as the story came out, they're like, oh, you're making excuses for Ty Simpson. We don't care who starts. I don't care who starts. I don't care if it's Dylan Lonergan or Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson. Seriously, I could give a damn. Like, no, I don't care. I'm not pulling for anybody. I'm pulling for the best player to actually play at the quarterback position, because your standards should be perfection if you're an Alabama fan, right? Look at the quarterbacks that you had at the past, right? I mean, do we have to rewind? Jalen Hurts, now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Then you had Tua Tagovailoa doing his thing. Then you had Mac Jones. Then you had Bryce Young. Thursday night, what are you going to have? The number one pick in the NFL draft coming from the University of Alabama, the first time ever that's been a quarterback, and that's Bryce Young. By the way, have you had what was the Bryce cream bar, the Snickers bar, right? That Bryce has? It's like an ice cream bar at Snickers. Number one, the ice cream bar, the Snickers ice cream bar is the GOAT. If you never had that, period, put Bryce behind it. I'm all in. So maybe sometime later today, I'll grab one of those. It's called the Bryce Cream. I love the marketing. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Call in 205-850-1994. This earpiece is really bothering me today. Yeah, but I just wanted to call in and at least start a live show and kind of get some feedback about Tyler Buchner, because as soon as the news kind of hit, everybody was freaking out. And, he's just visiting. He didn't commit. And of course, if he did commit or whatever, then we'll bring that back to you on Bama Football. But for now, I think he's just kind of coming here to check things out. But to be honest, like if you go back and watch his highlight tape and you watch some of the film on him, look, I think that he could be a starting quarterback for somewhere in college football. I'm sure he'll find a home. But not at Alabama. I think that Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson ahead of Tyler Buchner. And I think the fact that these guys already are solidified within the program, probably even Dylan Lonergan probably be ahead of him, to be honest. So I don't think necessarily Tyler Buchner would be the right fit. Now, does Alabama need a transferring quarterback? I think that's still up for debate. But as Coach Saban said, if the right person was to get into the transfer portal, then they're going to look at that particular player, whatever position that is. Now, Alabama's fine at most of the positions, but at quarterback, do you honestly think they are fine? A lot of people inside the comment box saying, relax, it's just a practice. No, your standards should be perfection. Your standards should be like, I feel very confident about the quarterback. Let me ask you this, okay? Hypothetical. If Alabama was to have a game this Saturday, would you feel confident at the quarterback position? Would you? What's up, Dr. I see you inside the comment box. 205-850-1994 is the call-in line number. We had Juwan call in and call off lead off. I appreciate you guys being subscribers of our YouTube channel, by the way. Appreciate it. I do all this 100% in terms of the editing, the graphics, all the stuff. So I appreciate you guys hitting the join button. You can become a member of this YouTube channel. Hit the bottom, the join button at the bottom of this video. Be sure and hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We just appreciate the content. We appreciate you guys being here. So look, Terry, thank you. Okay, let's highlight Terry's comment right here. Terry, I just asked, would you guys be confident if Alabama was to have a game? Would you be comfortable? Terry is saying no. That does not mean Terry is not a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's just being honest, and there's nothing with being honest. Sometimes I felt when I was back with the mothership that I had to be like an Alabama fan. Like, I want to say what I want to be able to say, and I'm not comfortable with the quarterback position right now. Does that mean I'm disrespecting Jalen or Ty? No, I'm just being honest 100%. And I think your standards should be perfection. Now, should they be perfection this spring? I don't know. I mean, you follow Coach Nick Saban. I mean, he demands perfection. I think he's going to continue to work with these guys as we go forward. 205-850-1994. I wanted to, I asked inside the comment box, and I'll roll through these questions real quick for you guys to drop some questions inside the mailbag that's on our community tab. And let me highlight these real quick. We got some good feedback, and I'll just roll through them. You can call into the show if you want. Love to hear from you guys this morning. So this first question, can you guys see this okay? Actually, let me switch views real quick. All right, here we go. Terry, I appreciate it, man. Dexter, appreciate your work, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. Okay, so at the top of your screen, we're going to read off the first question. It's actually coming from the Soviet Union, 1945. Hey, Kyle, what do you think our chances are this season? What are some of your concerns? Well, I mean, the chances for Alabama are always going to be perfection, right? And I think the chances of this team being very, very dynamic are extremely high because I think a lot of people forget that Dallas Turner, Chris Broswell, Deontay Lawson, they didn't even play in the spring game. And I thought the defense looked pretty good considering that you have Tresman Marshall, Q Robinson, Keanu Coates, some of these guys stepping up on the defensive side of the ball. I thought they looked really good. And then that secondary, I think, is going to be one of the best units in the entire landscape of college football. Kool-Aid, I think he's a first-round draft pick in the NFL. And same with Terran Arnold. I think those guys are one of the same. So if Alabama can get that quarterback situation figured out and they can develop some sort of continuity, I think they're going to be fine. The concerns clearly at the quarterback position, and I honestly, for right now, I don't think that they really have a dynamic tight end. Tamarcus Smith is asking, hey, Kyle, why is there some of these five-star players have not living up to their potential, especially at quarterback and receivers? Is because of the coaching and turnovers? Well, I don't necessarily know, five stars aren't living up to their potential or whatever, but I don't necessarily think that the coaching turnover really affects the player's development. I think that now what has really affected the player's development is the transfer portal and players kind of hopping in and hopping out. And if they're not happy that they're not playing, they just kind of bounce out. You look to players like JoJo Earl, Aaron Anderson, where those players would have played if they would have stayed at Alabama. And I think that sometimes it's almost like you didn't get the best players. I thought last year, for example, I thought Georgia had better wide receivers than Alabama. I thought TCU had better wide receivers than Alabama. I thought Ohio State had better wide receivers than Alabama. Now, is that going to change this year? I hope so, right? I hope so, but I guess we'll have to see. What kind of team are we going to shape up? I think the defensive mentality, C is asking up here at the top, what kind of team are we going to have? I think the defense is going to be hard hitting. I think that standard of, basically having kind of a simple philosophy to be dominant on the defense is going to come back to that Alabama standard. And I know people keep talking about that Alabama standard, but I talked to Malachi Moore after the spring game, asked him straight up, what'd you think about Kevin Steele this spring? And he said, loves it, loves that defensive mentality. And I think Jake Pope's hit on Jermaine Burton kind of set the tone for where this defense is at, right? Josh Jenkins is asking, what kind of music do you listen to pregame? Do I have a snack before the game? Look, man, I'm like a huge health food junkie, to be honest. So I'm hitting like the shakes and stuff like that before the games. But during the game, so funny story real quick. Inside the media room, they have a fantastic spread for everybody, right? So if you're a member of the media, you go up and you can have, they had like some pasta, they had some green beans. But a couple years ago, and I think I said this on one of the Facebook Lives, I went vegan for a couple years, right? And just as I went vegan for a couple years, it was like some health stuff that I was like navigating through. There you go. Alabama became the official sponsor, or one of the official sponsors became Conecuh sausage, right? So they had like these buckets of Conecuh sausage in the media room, and here I am trying to like go vegan or whatever. But of course, I had to dip into the Conecuh sausage because Conecuh is just incredible. We continue with our mailbag. You can drop your questions inside the community tab any single time or inside the comment box. Kenneth is asking, I do not care if the young men go undefeated or Cincinnati. I'm 100% you all. Roll Tide to you. T-Bone Kinder is saying, what's up, Kyle? Do you think Alabama will take a quarterback from Notre Dame? No, I don't think that they're going to actually take him, but I think they're going to entertain him. So nothing wrong with that. Tweet Johns is saying this is an odd and unusual number, but can Alabama get some new uniforms? Look, I would love for Alabama to do something unique and come out with some sort of, jerseys like Oregon has, but that's not Alabama style. You forget, we're in the South. This is super traditional. When you go to church, you wear a blazer and you wear something nice. You don't go in a t-shirt and jeans. Like, this is the South. So it's traditional here. And I think Alabama is going to stay with the beautiful crimson and white. CBAM is asking, do you think the real battle is Dr. Blue versus Coach Scott Cochran? That's an interesting one. I've heard good things about each of those guys in terms of the strength coach. I know as soon as somebody leaves the program, you always talk smack about them, right? Like, there's this huge thread going on, just kind of debating about Cochran or David Ballou on some of these sites. And people didn't like Cochran, but when he was here, people loved him, right? Remember what would he say? Yeah, or something like that. They even had like a 5K run. So I don't know. People always don't like you when you leave. But I think David Ballou is doing a fine job with Alabama's strength. Iceman is asking, Tyler Buchner rumors are getting hot. What's your take on it? We've already talked about that a lot. I think they're probably going to entertain him just because Tommy Rees is the OC at Notre Dame. Want to see what he can come in. And but look, I don't think he's beating out. Even if he was to come in, I don't think he's beating out Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson at all. KTK, he's got a long one, and holy cow. I am one of the few Bama fans, not saying anyone cannot agree with this, but this isn't really a concern if we don't take a quarterback in the portal. But I will always say it builds on competition. Okay, yeah, I love the competition factor. Number one, not taking Buckner from Notre Dame. What do you think available in the quarterback portal? We've talked about that. Malik, this is interesting right here. Number two, Malik Benson impressed me. Do you feel we have a true number one headed in the summertime, talking about the wide receivers? Yes, I do think that there is a true number one. So listen, I think that Ja'Cory Brooks is probably the number one receiver considering he's the vet. But I think as we navigate forward, I think it is going to be Malik Benson. Now, everybody saw how Malik Benson, how he kind of took over that spring game in the later part of that scrimmage. I think Malik Benson is going to be legit. I think he's going to be that guy that we're accustomed to seeing at that wide receiver position. So KTK, there's a question. I think Malik Benson is going to be that guy. And kind of, I'm curious to see what Tommy Rees does with the tight ends, right? Because when I would watch Notre Dame, one thing they were really creative with was getting the football to Michael Myers, the big tight ends. And could C.J. Dupree fit that mold, or maybe Amari Kite or Robbie Oots? Maybe. Okay, Drew is saying, let's talk middle linebackers. Has Lawson secured the job? Yeah, I think Lawson is certainly the guy. What is the best combo? Tresvant Marshall and Jaheed Campbell, Justin Jefferson, third down. Look, there's a ton of guys at the interior inside linebacker play, and that's probably one of the storylines that we're going to track during August, considering the fact that Deontay Lawson didn't participate in spring football. But Tresvant Marshall, I think, is somebody who we're really going to be talking about. Jaheed Campbell not far behind. So that inside linebacker play, there's a lot of dogs right there competing for that starting spot. I like the interior play. That's going to be one of the biggest position battles outside of quarterback, is that interior linebacker position. But I think on the outside, we know who's coming back. Dallas Turner, Chris Broswell, one of the best tandems in college football. Think about this. The outside linebacker position, you're going to have Dallas Turner and Chris Broswell coming off the edge, and then you're going to have potentially Malachi Moore at star, and then you have Kool-Aid at corner and Terrion Arnold at corner, and then you're going to have your safeties with Caleb Downs back there. That is a ferocious defense, I'm telling you. Rick V is saying we got quarterback problems ×2. We've talked about that. The quarterbacks weren't impressive during spring, but Alabama doesn't have a game this Saturday. Thankfully, I think they'll have plenty of time to work on that quarterback room and figure out the best way to navigate that offense. And I think these guys are going to be fine, to be honest. I wasn't impressed this past Saturday, but you can call that rat poison, whatever. And I think that's fine. I think it's probably good for these guys to hear that we weren't impressed, so they continue to work hard and prove us wrong, right? Go out and prove us wrong. We weren't happy. Okay, do you think we're good enough to beat Georgia? You have to be. Nick Saban said that somebody has done a good job taking what's Alabama's recently, right? And that's been Georgia. Kirby Smart has taken the top of the college football mountain away from Nick Saban, straight up, 2 years in a row. Can you do it a third time? I don't think so. I mean, if Georgia wins another one, oh my goodness, right? But no, Georgia's done a good job taking away. And the thing about Georgia, and I say this every single time I come on a live, is they transform their offense in terms of just 3 yards in a cloud of dust to actually opening it up. And if they have a quarterback that can facilitate and have some good wide receivers coming in, Georgia's continuing to be a problem. We know their defense is always going to be there. And then at the bottom, JM12 Green is saying, hey, Kyle, who's going to be running this YouTube channel besides you? Look, I run the YouTube channel by myself, straight up. Old school style, just doing things by myself. I don't have a problem doing it. I'm built to be independent. I used to run my own business for 12 years back in New Mexico. So yeah, I'm a dog. Have that dog mentality. I can work by myself. I can be by myself. I'm comfortable working by myself. I don't need anybody poking me and micromanaging me and telling me this and telling me that. I want to be able to speak freely and be able to tell you my honest opinion about things rather than just being so fancy and being like, everything is going to be okay. Look, of course it's going to be okay. It's Alabama football. But at the same time, we have a right to say that things weren't impressive on Saturday. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's, call it rat poison, whatever you want to call it. It's the truth. I appreciate you guys being here with me this morning. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. You guys are great for following me. Hit the join button if you want to become a member of this video. You can always throw a super chat. I run the YouTube channel. This is how I put food on the table. Got a 14-year-old, got a 10-year-old. I do the same things that you guys do every single day. Literally after this, go get a workout in and go to the bank, pay the bills, do all that stuff. So wanted to come on, jump on, and talk about the Alabama quarterback room. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. Had a great time catching up with you guys. During the season, we're going to have a more scheduled live format. And I think during the summer, I'm going to try to mix in some content, kind of like Pat McAfee style, to where we can talk about Alabama football being the center, but also I'm taking your calls and I'm talking with you guys, right? About, topics that come up in the sports world. For example, it is interesting to talk about what's happening with Colorado. All these guys transferring out of the portal. Okay, this is my last thing. Okay, this Colorado thing, I used to cover Colorado. I used to have a business that operated in Boulder. So I would drive up to Boulder because I used to live in Albuquerque from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I used to drive up to Boulder and I covered the Buffs. It was CU Sports Nation. At the time, it was Mike McIntyre, who was the head football coach, and Colorado was continuing to struggle. And let me get, Boulder is beautiful. If it's a beautiful Saturday, you want to go watch a below average team, or do you want to go out to the beautiful Flatirons? Absolutely, you're going to go hiking, whatever. What's going on right now at Colorado with Deion Sanders? Yeah, it's exciting. I love Coach Prime. That whole thing is great. But there's no way that Alabama should not have been on national TV on Saturday. Colorado doesn't have that right. Put them on SEC Plus or not SEC Plus or whatever the Pac-12 has, right? Behind a paywall. Don't make Alabama fans do that. And I think ESPN was creative in doing that because they knew that people would subscribe to SEC Plus to watch Alabama, where they could just have kind of the spectacle and the headlines and the SEO of Coach Prime coaching on ESPN. If you look at Colorado's schedule, I think Coach Prime is going to do okay, but he's not taking Colorado over 500. There's zero way. Look at their schedule. I've followed the Buffs. USC owns that conference, and Colorado just doesn't have the players. It's going to be too difficult for them. They're going to be battling with Oregon State and some of these teams. They're just not that. So to see them on ESPN just wasn't feeling it. And I know a lot of people were really upset. That should be an Alabama spot. Come on. It's just that. This is the flagship still, along with Ohio State and Georgia. Put those teams at the pinnacle. Anyways, that was my tangent on Colorado. I love Boulder though. So you out there in Boulder, I appreciate you guys. Okay. Thank you so much. Great show. Covered a lot of ground. I'll put the timestamps inside the comment box. I'll recut the tight end video and I'll upload the tight ends, giving the tight ends for Alabama as we continue to move through our spring grades. Just a B. Didn't see too much. Wasn't overly impressed. I wasn't underwhelmed. It was just kind of blah. It's just all right. But And then again, they're not going to show a lot from the tight ends, right? They're not going to come out and show you what CJ Dupree can really do or Amari Kite, what he can really do. So that's why the tight end is just kind of a B. Appreciate you guys joining me this morning. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Be ready for the next video. We got you covered. Bama football on YouTube. Thumbs up, like, subscribe. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Kyle Henderson of Bama football on YouTube.